Cool. All right. So hi
Yeah,
guys.
we can start now. Yeah, and
Perfect.
continue.
Hi guys. This is George from Dorahacks, and welcome to another Klaymaker pre-hackathon developer workshop, the Klaymaker22 challenge, minting NFT and an NFT ecosystem on Klaytn. Today, we are very happy to invite Toniya, who's the ecosystem development tech lead at Klaytn, and Terri, who's developer advocate at Klaytn, to join us as the speakers. In this workshop, we will cover the basics of minting NFTs and the whole NFT ecosystem on the Klaytn network. Before we start, let me briefly introduce the background. So this is the very first time that Klaytn is hosting a hackathon using Dorahacks hackathon infrastructure, and the very first time that we can support Klaytn, which is pretty exciting. So in this hackathon, we will mainly focus on 5 topics. They're core protocol, metaverse and NFTs, DAO, DeFi, and public goods. There are also bounties that have been sponsored by well-known partners and companies in the technology space. The official hackathon has already begun, so if you're a developer or if you have any interesting ideas, you're welcome to join the Klaymaker hackathon. Klaytn and Dorahacks will provide you not only competitive hackathon prizes, but also a series of support in many ways. For more information and details, please feel free to find out on the Dorahacks and Klaytn websites. So without further ado, let's welcome Toniya and Terri. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for introducing. So I'm from the ecosystem team at Klaytn. So we basically develop and integrate all the tools in Klaytn ecosystem. So like tools like bridges, DEX, wallets, explorers, and all the technical support for the Klaytn ecosystem. So today, me and Terri will be talking about how to mint an NFT in Klaytn ecosystem and few things about NFT. So maybe I'll let Terri to introduce and take over.
Can you go to the next slide?
Sure.
Okay. Before we begin, I thank all of our sponsors and community partners for making Klaymakers22 happen. Okay. Next slide. Just to give a brief recap, this is Klaytn's very first global virtual hackathon, and the prize pool for the main 5 tracks is at 360K. We also have 6 sponsored challenges which you can participate in. And the developer workshops have begun and will continue until September 13th. And the previous sessions are also available on YouTube and Binance Live. So if you're interested, you're always welcome to check them out. And if you have any questions, scan the QR code on the screen and we will answer any questions that you may have. Okay, next slide. Okay, so today we'll talk about NFTs, minting NFTs, and the NFT ecosystem on Klaytn. And later, Toniya is going to give a live demo on minting NFTs on Klaytn. Just to briefly talk about NFTs, NFT stands for non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible means that it's not exchangeable. So for example, Klay is a fungible token. So the Klay that I possess in my wallet is the same as the Klay in your wallet. But when it comes to NFTs, each and every piece has a unique different value. And these are stored in the metadata. That's what makes NFTs unique. And that's why people want to collect them. And that's why they have different values. And some are really, really expensive. And that's why NFTs are gaining a lot of popularity, and they're being used for profile pictures or for collections and so on. And to mint or create an NFT, you need to deploy smart contracts, and there are different standards for these NFTs. For example, on Klaytn, we have the KIPs, which stands for Klaytn Improvement Proposal. And the KIP 17 is for minting NFT, and this is equivalent to ERC 721 on Ethereum. We also have KIP37. This is for multi-tokens. So you can basically mint a batch of NFTs using KIP37. So it's suitable for game items. And on Ethereum, you have ERC1155. And there's also ERC998. This is like an extension of ERC721. So you can basically mint a fresh token from a bunch of NFTs. So that's all for a little intro on NFTs. And as I mentioned, NFTs are usually used for collectibles or as means of investment, profile pictures, and so on. But there are also other creative use cases happening on the Klaytn ecosystem as well. For example, we have Angel League. It's for guaranteeing the validity, authenticity of unlisted stocks. It also uses Klaytn blockchain. And there was also a use case with donations. So people make donations and the proofs of the donations would be stored on the blockchain. So Klaytn did that with Good Neighbors. And Hyundai Card also launched their Meta Mobility NFTs using Klaytn blockchain. And we also have Tesla, which is a very interesting project. It's a service for fractionalized art ownership, which means you can buy pieces, fractions of artworks because they're too expensive. If you want to buy the whole thing, they're usually too expensive. You can't afford them, right? So the blockchain technology enables you to buy fractions and invest in little fractions of these artworks. So these are some popular use cases on Klaytn. And we also have Clip Drops, which is an NFT marketplace. So we curate digital art by promising or renowned artists, and people can buy them on Clip Drops. So it's like Nifty Gateway, but it's created using Klaytn blockchain. So it's been received really well by collectors and artists alike. So if you're interested, you can visit the website and take a look at a lot of interesting art projects and the artists. So on the Klaytn ecosystem, you can create and list and sell your NFTs. And there are ways for both non-devs and devs to do this. For example, if you're a non-dev, you don't know how to code, you can use CAS API, Klaytn API service or Clip to mint NFTs without doing any programming. And you can connect to the Klaytn wallets like Clip or KaiCas, and then you can list and sell your NFTs on OpenSea or Clip Drops as well. And if you're a dev, you can of course deploy smart contracts, KIP17 for normal NFTs. And to do this, we have Caver SDKs and CAS APIs. And so either way, you can mint NFTs and list and sell them in the marketplace. So like I briefly mentioned, Klaytn offers a diverse tech stack to create NFTs. So the wallets, we have Clip and KaiCas. And we also have Crafter Space, which is a website where you can very easily mint your own NFTs. And we also provide SDKs and APIs like Caver. We have Caver JavaScript and Java, and CAS, which stands for Klaytn API Service, is also available. And like I explained, Klaytn has the equivalent of Ethereum's ERC, KIPs. So to mint NFTs, you would use KIP17 or KIP37. And we also have Oracle integrations, and regarding smart contract, we support Solidity and Klaytn is also EVM compatible, so it's very easy to use if you're familiar with Ethereum development environment. So that's all I have to say regarding Klaytn's ecosystem. Now, Toniya is going to go a little bit deeper on this subject.
Hi. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to mint NFTs without doing any programming. So the first part would be a little bit about the APIs and the web interfaces. Later, I'll be showing a demo on how to write smart contracts and how to use the existing smart contracts to mint and deploy and use the Klaytn ecosystem. So in Klaytn ecosystem, we have minting tools to directly mint NFTs via web interfaces. So for this, a user need not have any technical knowledge. Like Terri mentioned, we have Clip partners to mint NFTs, and we can connect that to a wallet to keep those NFTs. And then the user can sell and list those NFTs in marketplaces like OpenSea or Clip Drops. So coming back to minting NFTs, so here you can see this minting made easy. And the first, I've just asked, can anyone mint NFTs for free? Yes, the short answer is yes. So many of the websites or many of the companies provide web interfaces to mint NFTs for free, but there is a catch. We can mint NFTs for free even in the mainnets. But then selling or listing NFTs would be costing us. So there are many websites which provides this option of lazy minting. So we call it as lazy minting. So lazy minting is a minting process where NFT creators aren't required to pay the gas fee, but the gas fee will be paid after the NFT is purchased or transferred to anyone. So even in OpenSea, we had a website in CrafterSpace where you can create the NFTs for free. The gas fee will be paid by Klaytn itself. But then when you try to sell in OpenSea, that's where you'll be required to pay fee, or when it is transferred to someone else. So still, the community is encouraging everyone to, mint and at least list in OpenSea, if not, selling or transferring. So just to try out, you can just use those platforms and you can see how it works. And we also have CAS, like Terri mentioned, which is the Klaytn API service. So in CAS, we provide APIs for not only NFT functions, but also key management and contract management. So in CAS, users can deploy NFT in the web interface. So you can directly log into the CAS console, give the contract information, and deploy the contract using the interface. So I can just show this, how it works. So we can, once it is deployed, we can use the CAS SDK to interact with the contracts. So I'm just going to show the CAS console. So this is the CAS console, which is the Klaytn API service console. Let me just check for the password. So here, if you see, we have many services for key management and contract management. So here we have services. Here, node services, wallet, and all the services. And here we have KIP series. Here's KIP 7, 17, and 37. So KIP 17 is the standard for NFT, a token standard for NFT. So here you can just go read about it and you can see the contracts. So you can directly give some contract name, maybe something like this, and so here you can choose from an existing pool. So this pool will be the fee, and then you can just go deploy. So contract has been deployed. So it's as simple as just using the console to deploy any one of these tokens or standards. So going back to, and we can also see the same in the block explorer as well. So you can just click on this. This will redirect to the Klaytn scope, which is an explorer. So here you can see the contract being deployed. And the same, we also have a Klaytn finder, which is an explorer. So here you can see that it is a KIP 17 standard. Oh, maybe it's since, okay. Since it was the mainnet. Yeah, here you can see the contract is being deployed and the NFT info. So here it also says it's NFT. Here we can click on the event logs and see the information. And yeah. So this is the Klaytn API service. So we use the console, same like using the KIP services. We can also use the node services. We can also use other services. You can take a look at it. So going back to this. So once we have minted in any one of the web interfaces or in our local using smart contracts, we can go sell in OpenSea. So we can also trade Klaytn NFTs in OpenSea because OpenSea has been integrated with the Klaytn. So that's a good thing. We also have clip drops. So you can trade and list and monetize with your NFTs. So next is, I'm going to talk a little bit about the standards. So for developers who want to create dApps on Klaytn, you can make use of the KIPs, which is the Klaytn standard Klaytn improvement proposal. So KCT is the Klaytn contract. I think it's Klaytn contract standard something. Yeah. So KIP 17 is the non-fungible token standard. So this is heavily derived from ERC 721. And in KIP 17, we have implemented optional extensions and event tracking. And we also have KIP 37, which is a multi-token standard. This is heavily based on ERC 1155. So here we have customized methods. So we have added some improvement proposal on top of the ERC standards. So next is execute KIP 17 using SDKs. So in Klaytn, we have many SDKs like Kver and Cast SDKs. So who want to create dApps on Klaytn, we can make use of those SDKs. So this code snippet basically shows how to deploy and transfer NFT using Cast SDK. So instead of writing smart contracts, which is a little bit complex, we can use these functions to directly interact with the Cast SDKs. So we can call the KIP 17 APIs directly like this. Even for transferring, we can just directly call the APIs. So the next part is executing KIP 17 using Sandbox. So we saw multiple options for minting NFTs using web interface and what is the standard for creating an NFT and how to use the NFT in Cast console and also how to use through a SDK. So now we can see how to use or how to execute this KIP 17 standard using a Sandbox. So Sandbox is nothing but a boilerplate code to build dApps on Klaytn. So it's like a D-app framework where you can see some example code for the front end and some example code on how to write smart contracts and how to integrate wallets. So it's mainly to write new contracts and compile and deploy. And also you can test in the local network. So it also has options to run a local network without internet. So it's very easy for development. In short, it contains all the example pieces of code to deploy a contract in Klaytn network. So it also shows how to use Kver SDK, how to make use of K as API services, and how to connect different wallets like KaiCars and MetaMask. So it's like for a D-app developer, it has all the pieces of code to develop their own D-app and build on Klaytn. We also have Klaytn contracts, which is a contract library for all the use cases like governance logic, token logic, and access logic, etc. So you don't have to write from the scratch. You can make use of the Klaytn contracts and you can customize accordingly to your use cases. So, and we can also build a nice and shiny UI to implement those features of your smart contracts. So let me show the Klaytn contracts and as well as the Sandbox. So it's an open source repository, so anyone can go take a look at it. So this is the Klaytn Dev Sandbox, so which I mentioned, which has all the example code and boilerplate code for front end and the smart contracts and running a local network. So this folder is the token contracts folder. For basic examples, we have 17, 37, and 7. Here we can create any new contract as well as new Solidity file. So this is an example for KIP 17 token. Here, if you can see, it has been implemented. And here you can also see it imports from Klaytn contracts. So Klaytn contracts is nothing but a Klaytn contract library, which I'm going to show you. So this is a Klaytn contracts library. Here we have examples for access and cross chains and finance and governance, and also proxy contracts and security related contracts, and also KIP tokens. So here, this code is an audited code base. So we can just import these contracts in our sandbox and start writing our own use cases or customizing the existing methods and deploy in the local network and also deploy in Klaytn Baobab network, test network, or main network. So I'm also going to show the part which executes or runs a local network. Here there is a network folder. So here we can make use of these scripts to run a local network and write smart contracts of test. And we also have a SRC folder, which is the front-end UI. So we made a very simple UI for you to just show how to use the Kver SDK and also how to use CARS API servers and also how to use IPFS. So you can just go through the code and find everything you need. And also you can just grab the entire existing UI and build your own UI for the NFT use case. So yeah, so let me show a demo on how to deploy a NFT on Baobab and also run a local network. So this is the same Sandbox repository which I showed just now. So you guys can just clone from the GitHub, and here there's the contract folder, and here we have this example. So we can just import the Klaytn contracts and we can write our own methods on top of it, or even customize the existing methods. So here we have given some examples. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to run a local network, and show you how to deploy those contracts in local network, and also run and also try to deploy those contracts in Baobab network, and we can try to mint an NFT. So, and we have made everything easy in a single line command. So to run the local network, we just have to run this command, which is in the README of the repository. So we can just do npm run Klaytn. So this will run a local node. So for this, you don't need an internet connection. So for local host testing and compiling and deploying, we can make use of this network. I hope you all can see my VS Code screen. Terri, is my VS Code visible, or I'm just showing the slide?
Yes, I can see.
Okay. So let's just wait for 1 or 2 seconds. This will start running. So meanwhile, I think I can show the other folder. So this is the, I think, network folder I've shown before. And we have the test folder also where we can write tests. And we also have a env file, which we would use for Baobab testing. So basically here we have some env variables like tested private key, tested API URL, and mainnet private key, all those details. So to get the testnet private key, we can go to this Klayka. This is Klayka's wallet. It's just a Chrome extension. So from the Klayka's wallet, you can create a new account or use the existing account. And if you just click on this, you can, if you click on export wallet key, here you can see the Klayka's private key. If you give the password, here you can see the private key. So you can just copy this private key and use it here. And for the testnet API URL, you can just look at the Klaytn docs, public endpoint for Klaytn. So we have many services, many API endpoints for the Cypress as well as Baobab. So you can use any one of the endpoints. So I'm going to use this endpoint, so which is given here. So I'm just going to replace this. So for running or deploying on Baobab, you just need private key and a public endpoint. If you want to run in Cypress, you can use the Cypress private key and a mainnet URL. So these options, access ID, secret key, and CAS testnet API URL is the API which we can register using CAS. So Klaytn API service, which is CAS, will also give us which we can subscribe for the service. So it's like a paid service in Cypress. For testnet, I think for some limit it should be free. So this is like so the public endpoints, they have rate limits, so we can use the CAS endpoints to get the access key and secret key to have unlimited service and to test deploying on Baobab. So we can use either one, either CAS service or just the public endpoints. So now we can see the local network is running. So going back to the README, I'm just going to here, we just ran a local network in just a few seconds. So it's as easy and straightforward. So now we can deploy a contract in local networks, like deploying a contract on the local network. So I'm gonna run KIP 7, 17, and 37 and show you how easy it is. And then maybe slowly I'll run on Baobab and show you guys. So it was quick. So 7 has been deployed, and the deployed address and the ABI can be seen in this folder. So this is the ABI and this is the token address, just in case if you want to know. So we can also do the same way for 17. Yeah, if it is public endpoints, or if we have to deploy in Baobab or Cypress, it might need internet connection, and every time you might have to get some test clays and do the transaction. But if it is local, it's good for testing, so we can deploy as many contracts we want and test as many contracts we want. So now I'm going to do for 37 as well, so just to show you how it works. So if you want to write a new contract as well, you can use this contract folder, and you can just create a new contract and start writing it, and you can start deploying it as well. So for now, I'm just going to delete this because we'll just focus on minting part. So now I have deployed everything in the local network. So mainly this local network is for testing. So now let me just clean this up because we'll be deploying in Baobab. So the contract addresses should not conflict. So once we are testing in Baobab, we just have to make sure that there is no addresses in the local, because the Baobab address and the local address might get conflicted. So I'm just going to clean up and show you guys how to deploy on Baobab. So going back to the README, so just now deploying a contract on the local network, we did for KIP7, KIP17, and KIP37. And next we'll deploy on the Baobab testnet. So like I said, make sure you have the env file before you proceed. And you can also deploy using the public RPC endpoints or to subscribing to Klaytn API service. So having the public RPC endpoint is the easiest way. So we just took the private key and the public endpoint. So here you can see how to deploy a contract. So it's as easy as npm run and deploy. We should give the network name as Baobab. So if we are going to deploy it on mainnet, we have to give it as Cypress. So whichever network we want to deploy, we just have to give the name and the contract name. Here, let's deploy 17, which is the NFT token standard. So we can also do any one of the contracts, or we can also write new contracts and give the contract name. So I'm just going to deploy 17. So once this is deployed, we can also verify the same in Klaytn Scope or Klaytn Finder. So I'm going to paste this transaction in Klaytn Finder. The contract has been created, and here you can see it's a Klaytn NFT, which is KIP17 we deployed, and the address is also generated. So we just deployed in Baobab test network. Same way, if you want to deploy in Cypress as well, you can get the private keys here for the Cypress, and you can start deploying. So when you want to develop a D app on Klaytn, the Sandbox will be very much helpful because you have all the folders and pieces to connect to the wallet and deploy and everything. So you can just start writing your contracts and then deploy by just running some scripts. And also you can also run a UI. So now I'm going to run a simple UI and show you how to mint. So SRC folder has the UI components. This is a React UI using Next.js. So we can use this SRC folder to run the front end. So I'm just going to give npm dev. So here for running the UI, we have given the steps. So for the front end, we are going to upload the images in IPFS. So we might need the IPFS project key and project secret as well. But in future, we'll be integrating this IPFS with the Klaytn IPFS node. So we won't need a project key or secret key. It would be free. Right now we are using the Infura IPFS endpoint. So we need the project key and project secret. So now I'm going to run the front end. So we can go. So here you can see a small instruction on how to use the sandbox. And in the contracts tab, we also have KIP 7, 17, and 37. And we also have link to how to use or how to deploy a KIP 17 contract and some information about NFT token standard KIP 17 and 37 as well. This is like a very simple UI. You can use it to build your own UI, but here we have the sample code pieces on how to use a Kver SDK, for example, if you see here. So here in the front-end SRC folder, you can see example of how to connect to Kaika's wallet and how to connect to MetaMask wallet and all those things. And you can also see how we are using Kver here. So this front end or this sandbox is just to give an example on how to use our tools. So you can just create your own UI, a very shiny UI to your own NFT use case. So here I'm just going to mint a simple token. So I'm going to just upload the Klaytn logo. So I think IPFS, it's hitting the public node, so it's taking some time. But yeah, we can. Okay, I think I have deployed the 7 contract instead of 17. Let me just try to. Okay, let me just try to refresh and. I'm just going to try to refresh and do it. Yeah. There's something wrong. Let me just make sure if it is deployed. I'm just going to. Make sure that it's the right key which I'm using, because sometimes if I don't use the right key, also it doesn't get minted. Let me make sure the address and this is the same. So from 533C. Okay. There's something wrong here. Let me try to restart. I'm going to try to restart this. Okay. Now it works. I think there's some, it was the old address might be in the cache, which we deployed in the local. So since I restarted the network, then it worked. So sometimes we might have to just clean it up and refresh the cache. So now we just minted. So we can just see the same in the contract. So we just minted a KP17 token. So the same way we can also deploy a 37 and also 7, and here we can transfer some tokens to a different address as well. So let me just try to transfer some tokens to a different address. Oh, I haven't deployed the 7 yet, only 17 we deployed. So we might need to deploy 7 and then try this again. But 17 we just minted. So if you want, we can also mint one more and just check. So sometimes okay, I just changed the address, so I have to change it back to the old one because this is the address which we deployed. So we might have to try from the same address. Yeah, so now it is successfully minted again. So we can see from this address, just before 9 seconds we have deployed, and also before 2 minutes we have deployed. So everything everything has been deployed successfully. So this UI is just a sample UI, which you can use it to build your own UI. And this repositories, you can use it to connect to Klaytn wallets and also Klaytn SDKs and how to make use of cars. And also it's like a truffle framework, which you can use for local testing as well. So now we can go back and to a new type of NFT, which is a dynamic NFT. So dynamic NFTs are NFTs that can change based on external conditions. So we also call them as living NFTs, as it has the ability to update the metadata in real time. So metadata is the place where the token name is specified, the traits are assigned, and for example, the image. Just now we saw we uploaded an image. So so the image name and the name, the capture of that metadata, of the NFT. So all the metadata, we can have it in an NFT. So in dynamic NFTs, those metadatas we can change based on the real world events. For example, an NFT which is representing a property, it should have the ability to update the metadata, like if a new roof has changed or if a new door has changed. So if it has the property to update, then we call it as dynamic NFT. So so the metadata is the only data which will be changing in NFTs, but then the token ID is the permanent identifier of dynamic NFT, through which we can verify ownership. So the potential use cases of dynamic NFTs are gaming space and metaverse, because when we have this fantasy sports games which can change the characteristics of based on real world performance. For example, if character in a sports league is holding a silver coin. So based on his performance, based on his records, if it can move to a gold coin or something, so that kind of NFTs will be really a potential use case in gaming, things like that. And for also, we can also use this for building progression based video games, like a character when they move every level up, so we can change the character of the NFT. So as the player continues to level up, the metadata in NFT can change, reflecting the character's growth. So dynamic NFTs will be really, really a good use case in insurance, as well as in passport and certificates, where we change the name or the issue date, and when the certificates for the health insurance certificates, data might be changing. So in order to update, we can make use of the dynamic NFTs. So in Klaytn, we have options for building dynamic NFTs. Since it's based on the real world events, we can use oracles for dynamic NFTs to manage the NFT properties in real time. So in Klaytn, we are working with Chainlink and Witnet to support oracles. We already have the VRF and price feed data integrated with the Chainlink. So we can make use of these oracles to support dynamic NFTs in building metaverse or any gaming D apps. So we have all the tools and examples, which is easy for developers to use and create NFTs and onboard to the platform. So is there any questions?
Thanks, Toniya and Terri. Yeah, I did have a question. So, I mean, over the past couple of years, we have seen how NFTs have evolved and changed, and adoption has changed and all these types of things. But right now, in the current market, and also just at the current stage that things are at, what do you see as like the biggest challenges for NFTs, and how do you think that they can be combated in the near future?
Right now, the biggest challenge is implementing and people started using it, because right now the art, NFTs, and collectibles and PFPs is becoming, very adopted in the market. So use cases like this, when we have some real use cases like metaverse and insurance, that's when you can see that's the progress of NFTs. So the biggest challenge is like the implementation of the real use cases.
Yeah. And then how do you think that will like evolve to that next stage of integrating it with passport certificates? I mean, because there is that issue of KYC and things like that, and verifying ownership, and the whole purpose of this space is to kind of have that anonymous kind of feeling. So yeah, how do you think that they're going to overcome that issue and going to be able to kind of integrate with passports and insurance and things like that?
Yeah, for insurance and all, for example, property insurance, right now, since the NFT metadata cannot be changed, maybe that can also be a challenge. So to overcome this, yeah, like I said, we can use oracles to update the metadata and the insurance data. For example, now if you're insuring your car or a house, after 10 years or after 5 years, the property data might change. So by making use of oracles, so this challenge can be resolved by using dynamic NFTs. And so we can start using dynamic NFTs even in passports and insurance.
Got it. Cool. All right. Well, that concludes our session for today. So thank you both, Terri and Toniya, for joining us today, and sharing some insights into NFTs and building on Klaytn. So thanks everyone for joining us in the audience as well. And as I mentioned, a special thanks to Toniya and Terri for joining us today. I really appreciate your time and efforts for bringing us such a wonderful developer workshop. This has been super helpful for developers to understand more about NFTs and the NFT ecosystem on Klaytn. The hackathon will be an important part as a flagship event for driving the growth of Klaytn's developer community and ecosystem adoption via ecosystem partnership and support. And Dorahacks team is very excited to be a part of it. And we will have a series of workshops like today in the next few weeks. So for everyone in the audience, if you're interested and haven't followed us on YouTube and Binance Lives, please make sure that you do so that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming sessions that we're going to host for you. For builders and devs, if you do have any ideas that want to be tested out on Klaytn, please keep an eye out on the Klaytn and Dorahacks social channels, as we'll update the newest progress about the Klaymaker hackathon. Make sure you seize the chance to join us and join this hackathon with Dora for free. Thanks for joining us again today, and hope everyone is doing well and looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.